Alright guys, so I'm gonna get the camera situated here. Today we're gonna do the chocolate chip cookie, okay? We're gonna start out, basic recipe, just kind of showing you here what we got. Recipe calls for, we're gonna use melted butter just because for time constraints. Brown sugar, white sugar, 1 egg, vanilla, baking. You fell. Hold on. Get you back up here. Hold on, let me check to make sure. Baking soda, salt, water, and we're going to use all-purpose flour and chocolate chips. Okay? So this is all stuff that you guys will get if you come to pick it up. So I will show you the procedure here. The reason we're using melted butter is for time, because we don't have mixers for everybody, so we're just going to use melted butter instead, which isn't a bad thing. So we're going to start off with 4 ounces of melted butter, which I have over here. You don't want this clarified, you want that butter fat in there. So we got 4 ounces. And you're always going to want to melt this ahead of time and measure it ahead of time. Don't try to weigh it. Don't weigh out 4 ounces, melt it, and then bring it back, because sometimes you'll have water content and everything else in there too. So make sure you melt first, because you might actually need to melt like 5 ounces of butter and get a little bit, because some of the water will steam off. Okay, so get that in your bowl. Then we're going to put in our brown sugar, okay, white sugar, and then what you're going to do is take your wire whisk. If you don't have a whisk at home, just use that rubber spatula we gave you. That'll work too. And you're gonna blend this, okay? Typically you would do this creaming method with cold or room softened butter, like room temperature butter. But that's when you have a blender, or not a blender, but a mixer. So mix, mix, mix. If you see any lumps of brown sugar in there, make sure you smash them up, which you'll see in here, okay? Blend this, get our brown sugar blended. Okay, so next, this is not going to get completely smooth. So right now we have 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. That's going in. Go ahead and blend it up. Okay. Once that's thoroughly blended, go ahead and crack your egg into one of your cups. I always crack it into a cup just in case you get some shell. You can get that shell out easier from this cup than you can the mix. Okay, so put in your 1 egg. Okay, blend that up. Break up the yolk. This is going to make a nice smooth mixture now. Okay, see how that looks? Kind of like a batter. Once again, if you see big chunks of brown sugar, make sure you take them out or break them up. Okay, next, the recipe has a different method of adding the baking soda, because you never want a clump of baking soda. So what it recommends is you take your teaspoon of water. I go ahead and put it in this measuring cup, add the baking soda to that cup, and then go ahead and add your salt too, to let that dissolve as well. Mix that up, okay? Into your container. Pour the liquid in that batter. And the reason we do that is it's actually not very healthy for you. If you get, say if you don't do that and you have a clump of baking soda, that could lead to some really bad stomach problems. So they always recommend you dissolve it a little bit. So here's what our batter looks like. All right, it's very smooth. And that's all the first like 7 ingredients, okay? The last thing we have in here is our flour and chocolate chips. So we're gonna stop using this wire whisk, okay? Do not continue to use this. You're gonna wanna fold the rest of this in with your rubber spatula. Let's get all these dishes out of the way. All right, so you're gonna add 1 cup of flour. I'd go ahead and start blending that. Because if you add both, you can add both at the same time if you want, but it's easier to add one at a time. So I added the half cup first, because if you have a ton of flour in here, it just goes all over the place. All right, so as you can see, that's starting to fold in real nice. You have a nice smooth texture. The thing with these cookies too is, since your butter was melted, this dough has to refrigerate in order for it to work properly. So that's why we're actually going to bake these tomorrow. We're making the dough today, we're gonna finish it tomorrow. So look at that, looks real nice. Go ahead and add the other cup of flour. All right, slowly. And what I do is just slowly incorporate this, because you do not want this flying all over the place, especially getting in your face. And like I said, most people use a mixer, but I really think it's important for intro students to know what this feels like and to do it by hand, so you guys get a feel for the dough and kind of work up your muscles a little bit. All right, see how that's starting to turn to a nice cookie batter. All right, you'll see how that looks. Very nice. Then once it's all incorporated, stop right there. Oh, and I meant to tell you guys, that flour is sifted. I should have told you that in the beginning. Make sure the sifter we gave you guys, make sure that is ready and available so you can sift out your flour. Last process, 1 cup of chocolate chip. And you basically, you want to keep your chocolate chips, you want to mix them around as much as possible. Some people may say keep your chocolate chips in the freezer. It's kind of up to you what you want to do at your house, but you don't want to you want to make sure they're not warm, because you don't want these to start melting before your batter is done. All right, there we go. Like I said, you could portion these now. It'd be easy to portion, but make sure you refrigerate this dough a little bit before you put it into the oven. That's why I was suggesting we portion now, and then the rest of the dough you can either freeze or scoop it into 2-ounce dough balls, but make sure you refrigerate it for a little bit just to warm it or stiffen it up, because if you have warm dough going straight in the oven, you're going to get these big spread out cookies and it's going to cook real fast. If you want the more fluffy cookie, you want to make sure that butter's cooled down, okay, so it all cooks evenly. So now what we're going to do, this is the final process for today. You're going to take your little pans, I'm going to spray it, and then we're going to take, I'm going to get a 2-ounce cookie scoop. I don't have a 2, so I'm going to use the yellow handle. Let's probably take about 3 of these. What you want to do, maybe even 4, go ahead and press this down into the pan. Okay, so that was 4 yellow handled scoops. I'm going to put this in the fridge for about 10-15 minutes and then put it in the oven, okay? And then I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out. But make sure you put this in the refrigerator for a few minutes so it kind of solidifies that butter and it all cooks evenly. And then we're going to cook it at 350 for about probably 12 minutes and check it. Okay,